I just turned off the AC, so it's going to make a really weird noise. It sounds like one of those old Model T Fords when they stop running. It's really funny. Everything with me is a car analogy. But I'm sorry I have no makeup on. I'm just kind of sitting here because I'll change the battery out to another one, even though I don't want to. So there's just a battery hog, the smoke alarm, which makes me think that well, I don't want to be paranoid.
Through this recording, the smoke alarm sounds almost continuously, and I'm sorry for that, but it's just the way that people are here.
I went to let me tell you my scooter story. I've always loved the scooters, the Metropolitans, the Honda Metropolitans, the little ones, because my ex-husband had two, and we used to ride them. He has one that goes, he's a 100cc scooter and a 50cc scooter. This is a 50cc scooter because I don't have the chance to get another driver's license, right? So at least not until I have a scooter. Then I can go to the classes and get another driver's license, etc. So I looked up scooters after my mom died because I needed a car to have a job. So I looked around and I found a green one in Houston that I really liked, and I wanted it really badly because I love hunter green and racing tan. It's one of my favorite car combinations. For sports cars only, though, because everything else I like to have matching. So like black on black or yellow on yellow or blue on blue or whatever, that kind of thing. So my first car was I called it the Coco Van, and it was a Toyota Corolla sports car. It was like souped up, and it was a hatchback, and it had a sunroof and all the options, and it had pink. It was like kind of like a tannish pink color, and it had pink and brown leather seats, like matching seats with also brown leather edges. I really, the kind of like sports car edges where it's like dual color seats. And ever since then, I've always loved that. My second car was black outside, black inside, which is my favorite. So, anyway, but the point is, I found one that was British green and hunter green and British racing tan. So I thought, well, that's weird. I think I will look at it and see. So it was a brand new Metropolitan 2024, and it had let me see, it had all of the options on it. It doesn't come with a whole bunch of stuff, and it only goes like 40 miles an hour, but that's fine for what I need it to do right now. I can get all the way to Houston on 40 miles an hour. I used to drive 40 miles an hour all the time because that black on black car that I used to have was limited because someone had tried to steal it. And so they locked it out in San Marcos so that it could only drive in second gear. So it died at 250,000 miles. And for the last like 50,000 miles of its life, well, for the last like 30,000 miles of its life, so about like 9 months in my driving years, it drove it second gear. It was the highest it could go. Which meant, I could pass people. Sometimes I could go 45, and I did my best. I only traveled at night. If I had to go long distances, I would only drive between midnight. Let me get my drink. All right. So, basically what happened was I found a Metropolitan, and I did a deal with the guy. So it ended up being like $3,700, which is a lot of money for a Metropolitan. And the guy's name was Peyton, Paiton. So I thought that was kind of a weird name to do a car deal with, but my first car was the only other car I've ever bought myself, and it was done through USAA. It was done through USAA. It was one of those we negotiate for you deals with the insurance company where they call the car place and they do all the work, and then you go in and just sign for your car. The car was $28,000, and it was 2006. It was a Honda SE Special Edition CRV with all of the options decked out, and it had 1.9 financing. So when this guy offered me the Metropolitan for $4,500, I thought that was a little bit high, and so I started trying to negotiate with him. This is the stalker turning on and off the audio. You can hear it switching.
So we went back and forth. He was very respectful, and we ended up taking off about $800 from the price total, which I thought was pretty good. Other people thought it could have gone for $1,200. The stalker's still being a jerk, so I also negotiated $300 for delivery for him to drive it up, to hire a service to drive it up here in a truck and
women are
deliver it
supposed
to
to
my door
negotiate.
on the
So
second floor.
I negotiated,
The stalker
and I
adds
took
in
off
one
a
empty
lot of
frame
the
per frame
things
so that it
for
makes
the
me seem
price. I took
slower
off
than I
the
usually am, like
different
more
charges.
dumb.
I don't know how many charges. I got it down $800 to $37.50 or something. So then I went to the bank and I asked for the money. And I was going to get it on my daughter's birthday. See? And I remember that because it was really important to me. So I went, and on my daughter's birthday, I told the guy, I was like, okay, we have a deal. So then a couple of days later, I went into the bank, the 28th. So I went into the bank and I got the money order for $39.50 or whatever it was, $37.50 or something. Because you know how they are. They always say, oh, we have a deal, and then they add back a little bit on tax. But he was very fair, and I felt like he did a good deal. And that includes delivery charge because they were going to bring it up here in a truck. So I had to pay for some of that, to the guy's time and the rental of the truck and stuff. Anyway, so he came up here, and oh no, he didn't come up here. I sent him the check, but I sent it. So I got the check out of the bank on the 20. I want to say it was the Tuesday before, or the Wednesday. I'm sorry, it was a Wednesday. The Wednesday before the 28th week, I went in to get the check, and I had to force myself because I was kind of like, I wanted the scooter. But that was when I found out that my mom was 1/4 Black, and everyone was kind of being weird to me about getting a motorcycle, which I thought was kind of odd. And so I went in and got the check, called the post office.
It was $27
arranged for them to come get it, and asked them to bring postage and everything with them to send it.
It was
$28.75
for postage.
So they did that Friday. Bring me the guy showed up at my door. He's like, I'm ready to pick up the package. And I was like, well, you have to bring me a label and, an envelope and stuff, like the express mail kind of thing with the eagle on it and things. So I was like, okay, I need the label and the envelope
so $54
first, please.
Total.
So he left and he came back with a printed out label. Now it still said express mail on it. But he said, you just put this on your envelope and it'll be okay. It had a tracking number. So I went ahead and put it on my envelope and taped it up so that you couldn't, so if it got water on it, it would still be okay. And I started laughing because my mom used to always put her money in Ziploc bags. That's so funny. But anyway, so I went ahead and taped it up so it would be okay, And he came back, and I made sure the postage and the address showed through the thing, and I sent it off with him. And it never got there. So I checked on the Monday. That was the Saturday that I sent it. The Friday he came to bring me the label. The Saturday morning he came to pick up the package. And our post office here is open until noon, right? So then it didn't get there on Monday. At 10:30 it was supposed to get there. Didn't get there on Tuesday. On Wednesday, a guy here showed up with a new scooter, which was really odd. Not a Metropolitan, I don't think, but still a brand new scooter, red. Mine was green. But still, the guy delivered it on the truck and everything, just like I had arranged for myself, but not to me, to this guy that lives next door to me. Really creepy. And the guy parked outside of my apartment forever. Like he was trying to say I got my scooter to the town. That was so excited for me to get a vehicle because it had been so long since I had a vehicle. So then I I called the guy and I was like, well, it didn't come. And he said it didn't come. And I said, well, that's weird. It should be here. So I went into the bank and I said, I need to report this check lost. And they said, well, you have to wait 90 days to report it lost. And I said, 90 days. And I said, yes. And I said, well, because it could turn up. And if it turns up, then it's just void. It's not, refundable. And I was like, well, I think it's been used by somebody. And they said, no, it's still showing unused. So I said, well, that's weird. So I waited until November 1st was because I had gotten it on the 28th, right? So I waited until the 1st to go back in and ask for it back. So I went in on the 1st of November, which is really crazy. And she said, oh, she said, here's, and she printed out everything. And it said July 18th I had gotten the check. But I know I didn't get the check July 18th because I sent it off 2 days after I got it. And I got it on my daughter's birthday, like a present to myself for having a mom present, right? But they said you need to sign this. So I was like, well, and I got it notarized. And then when I got home, I looked it up online, and they said, well, just draw a line through it and initial the date as the date changed. But I don't know, it sounds really fishy. So I was wondering, did someone get out another check? Like, did someone get out a check the week before I did? Is there 2 checks missing? There's not that much missing from my account. But there's been so much theft, y'all. There's been like little bits of theft from Amazon and little bits of theft from this. But the good news is I insured the check with the post office. So I should get it back twice. But I haven't asked for it back twice because I'm kind of nervous about it. I don't like to do unethical things. So I feel like I got played somehow. So I asked the postman, did you drop the letter, like on the ground or something? And he said, no, I handed it to them. And on the tracking information, it shows that the post office received it, but they never processed it. So it got lost at the post office officially. Which means I can ask for my money back because it's like a car. Like if you were in a car accident and you broke your leg, they would fix your leg, but they would also fix your bike, because the bike is supposed to be, they're both insured, basically. So the check was insured for the bank. The letter was insured for the post office. That's the vehicle. So it should be ethical, right? So then, and I'm such a weirdo about things. Like you can always ask me ethical questions and I will always tell you the most ethical answer because I'm just a freak about these things. So, but I thought that was weird because the check didn't sit in my apartment for a week. It literally went out the next day. I don't keep cash in my apartment. Well, it went out, I got on a Wednesday and it went out on a Saturday. But it was supposed to go on the Friday. He just didn't bring the right stuff with him. So I know it didn't get stolen because when I taped up the envelope, I made sure it was in there, which is hard to believe. But usually if there's a dark horse in a situation, it's not me. Like you can usually bet on me to do the right thing, which some people hate about me, but I've always kind of liked about me. My family doesn't talk to me right now because of that. It's because I just cannot stomach. I mean, I can stomach some things. Like if you have kind of an agreement with someone else where you'll do something sketchy and you fulfill your side of the agreement, then that's fine with me. I mean, I don't argue about the behaviors. I argue about the conduct. Does that make sense? Kind of, in a way. So it's so funny. So like my daughter doesn't talk to me today because one of her relatives pretended to have a kid that had muscular dystrophy. But it was really her older kid in a wheelchair pretending to be the younger kid. And because I'm a special ed teacher, I saw it right away because I was like, that's weird. because she only had one picture of him, right? So she only had like 3 pictures of the kid, which isn't right, because kids like that, they have a huge footprint. They have a van. The van has a lift. They have parties and fundraisers and news articles, and they're known by every teacher in the district, usually in the whole state almost at that level. And they're pretty much a known factor. So they have like, they go to the park, there'd be more than one story, right? And there was just one picture of him. It was like a school picture, and one picture of him that was like a birthday party picture. That was it. And he supposedly passed away when the other relative was 9 years old. So there would have been a ton of stuff. But anyway, so they got upset with me and stopped talking to me after that, because I said, that's not right, right? I mean, it was obviously for some kind of benefit of some kind, which I don't have any idea what it was. But still, so I'm usually like the super ethical person, but everybody makes mistakes, right? And I don't know if I made a mistake or not. So, but I know I didn't. So I went back. Okay, so then on the 4th, so I waited my 90 days, and I didn't bother the bank or harass them. I went in on the 1st of September, a month later, and I said, I want to get this check. And I said, I want to stop the check because I'm afraid someone's going to use it in the 90-day interim. And I want to make sure. And she's like, well, you have to talk to the bank president and do all these things. And I was like, but the money's still in the bank. It hasn't been used by anybody. So why do I have to go over your head if it's just sitting there? I should be able to put it back in my bank account. And she said, no, you have to wait your 90 days. So I did. I mean, I didn't even bother them after that. I didn't harass them at all. And everybody was saying, oh, you should go and, make a fuss and go raise hell and go over their head and do all these things. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me to wait a little bit. And I think all things happen in good time, right? So then when I went back this time, they're like, oh, yes, we can do that for you. So then they printed out everything. But the date said July 18th. And I know I didn't get the check July 18th. I got the check on my daughter's birthday, the 25th. So then I asked myself, are there 2 checks? Is there 1 check? Was it some kind of freaky test? I mean, what was it? And I feel bad because I don't have anybody to ask these questions to. Like, no one I know is, how would you say, more straight, I guess, than me. No one I know is more ethical than me. No, there isn't anyone in my immediate circle, in my friends and my family. Nobody is as straight as me. Like, it's weird. Like, I am the barometer that most people go to by what is right to do. Isn't that creepy? I usually don't make these kinds of mistakes. So, but that's okay. There's a first time for everything, and I think everybody's human. So then I went to the bank and I said, I want my money back. And they said, okay. And they printed out the thing and it said the 18th of July. And I said, I don't think this is right because I waited 90 days. Why would I wait 90 days and come in today? If it was that early in the month, I would have definitely come in earlier. And she said, no, this is the only check that we have for this much money. I had the amount, $37.22. So I said, this is the only check I have for this much money in my bank account. It's the only time. It's the biggest check I've ever written in my whole life. So I was like, this has to be on the 28th. And she said, no, it's on the 18th. But isn't that them being unethical then? Is my view. So then she's like, well, here, let's print this out and go over and have you notarize it that this is your money. So I said, well, I can notarize it that it's my money, but I can't notarize the date of it because that's not the date of the transaction. But she said, okay, well, this is the only check that we have out of your bank account, so you must be mistaken.
And it's so funny because a bank is the only thing that could probably say
But
that
I
to
know I'm
me,
not
and I would be
mistaken
okay
because
with
it was
it.
my daughter's birthday. She was born on the 25th. She was willing to do it a week before, and she was literally a week late. She was happy. My daughter never wants to wake up in the morning. She always wants to sleep in. And she was like that when she was in the womb, too. And so she didn't come out for a whole week. She was literally 43 weeks overdue. Okay. So I knew the dates. And I just didn't know what to. Anyway, I went over and I showed them my driver's license, and they made me sign a paper saying that that was true. I signed it without the date being on it, right? But when they printed it out, the date was on it as something that I had signed too. Because there's no way it went missing in my apartment because I had it in my hand back from the bank. It was still warm from the bank. And I sat down, I arranged with the post office to come the next day and get the money. And they did. And I taped up the envelope. So there's no way nobody could get into it. And it hadn't been tampered with when I sent it off. Because to me, it's like, you know, your word is the only thing that you have. And I do know when things happened. I have a photographic memory, and I know. And the woman at the bank that I dealt with is always kind of. So it's possible. But and the good news is that the bank actually gave me their money. Like they just handed me that much money because they couldn't really say. I don't know if someone had already used it, like stolen it, and they didn't want me to lose the money. So I said to her, "This isn't the check." When I was at the window, she gave me the stuff, and I was like, "Okay, but this isn't my check." And she's like, "Okay, the bank is giving you a check." And I said, "How can the bank give me a check that's a week early?" And she said, "We're just giving you the check because we know that this happened and we can't refund your check because it's not here. So we're saying, here's your check. This is your receipt. Here is your check. Here's everything that you need. We're giving you the money. The money's in your bank account. You just have to sign this and then go." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine. That's really nice of y'all, to do that for me." Because I guess somebody had maybe used the check and they were trying to reimburse me anyway. So it had to be a different check. But it could have been a different check on the same day, right? So it's nothing saying you can't write more than one check on a day. So it was just so weird. But anyway, that was so let me be clear that was really nice of them to give me my money back out of like goodwill, sort of, I guess. So she said, "I can't," that's the apartment being nuts. So she said, "I can't give you your money back, but I can give you this check on this day from us," right? And I was like, "Okay, that, I guess as long as I get my money back, that makes sense." But then I had to notarize something saying that the events were true, that I wasn't participating in a fraud, and that the events were true and accurate as I had said them. And I never lie. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. Because what her explanation made sense to me, that the bank was giving me a check from the 18th of July, and they were saying, here is your money, and your check is vanished, etherized. It's like poof. Okay, so there's no way that we can give you back that check. So the bank couldn't legally attest to it being that check. The bank couldn't legally put their name on the check that I wrote not having been cashed by somebody. But they didn't want me to lose my money, so they created a whole check not out of thin air, because the money really was gone and it was an ethical transaction all the way down the line. It's just this is a third ethical transaction with the bank, I guess. So they're saying a typo, dates, and here is your money, basically. So then I went over to the notary and I was like, "I can sign this, but this isn't the right date." I could have sworn it was the 25th because it was the 25th because I have a photographic memory and everything. So I said I could have sworn it was the 25th. So she said, "Okay, just take this and, sign here and we're done." That was the day that the Slotsky's woman was like, "I'm not taking your money." She said that she wouldn't give me a sandwich because I was part black. So, anyway, I'm sure that's well resolved already. So I don't know what to think. And I don't know what I'm saying to you, except for to say, just understand that I never lie about anything. And that I was basically forced to sign something to get my money back. And that they were actually trying to be nice. But I still feel like something bad happened. So now I have to figure out. Remember, 3 alarms means there's a fire. But there's no fire. It's weird. There's no water vapor. There's no fire. I haven't even taken a shower today. So there's no fire at all. It's like the people next door are gone for the weekend. They didn't leave their oven on, I don't think. The wall is cold. So it's so funny. So I was like, So I said to the notary, I was like, look, the check went missing on the 4th of August, basically. The check was declared lost. It's like a body or something. The check was declared lost on the 4th of August. I had to run because the bank was closing. So I was like, I don't know if it's or if it's some sort of white hat fraud or what. But it wasn't anything bad for the bank. The bank covered themselves because they were just like, okay, we're canceling that check. And they did. And they're like, we're issuing you this check because your check is canceled. So we can't reissue that check. So we're giving you this check from the 18th of July. But then I had to sign something that said these events are true and accurate as they happened. And they are inside the bank. But it doesn't have anything to do with the 18th of July. But what happened inside the bank I attested to. And having a check for that amount of money in the first place I attested to. This always happens to me. When I went to sign my sister's will when she died, my brother wanted me to sign a signature page that was just a signature page. It was so funny. And I was like, I'm not signing that. First of all, I mean, he's very sweet. He has special needs, so it's not entirely his fault. So I felt like I was teaching him something kind of, and I was like, I'm not signing that. There has to be actual paragraphs on the page that I sign, like paragraphs of the will, of the part of whatever. There has to be that. And he does that sometimes to obfuscate that you're signing something that's tricky. But this time, it was actually kind of a straightforward thing in a way. He did less cheating on that will, for sure. So, although there was some stuff, but still. So I was like, no, I'm not signing that. And he wanted me to use my maiden name instead of my married name. And I was like, well, I'm divorced, right? And the proper styling of a divorced woman's name is first name, married name, first name, maiden name, married name, right? But I dropped my maiden name entirely. And I was first name, I am still first name, middle name, married name. So I was like, that's not my name. If I go to get it notarized, they won't let me sign because that's not my name. I can't notarize something that's not true. So I need you to fix it. So he went back and he fixed it. But this time, I feel like even though I didn't notarize something that was false, per se, because what they said was, we're basically creating a check out of ether, and here's the check, and magically the check was issued on this date, which it wasn't, and we know it wasn't, but we're still giving it to you anyway, and here's the receipt, and you have to notarize the acceptance of the check. But contained in the acceptance of the check was the language that these events are true as you have reported them. But that's how I reported them, was exactly as I described it to you, that the bank couldn't give me back my check, probably because it had been cashed already, but they didn't say that, and that they gave me back another check created by them, issued on the 18th of November, of 18th of July, I keep saying that, because it's wrong. See, that's what I do when I'm not lying, but when I say something that's not true, that's what happens, unless it's blood sugar. It's always one or the other. So, anyway, The 18th of July, they created a check that was issued to me in that amount, and I signed it and notarized it that happened. That happened. Those words. The bank created a check dated the 18th of July, and I received it, and I signed for it, and that is what happened. Right? Because those words are true. Subject, bank. I'm just messed up over this, though. I don't know. Ethically, I want to do the right thing. Now, I'm not a stickler for doing the right thing all the time, though. But I am a stickler for signing things that say that I did something that I didn't do or didn't do something I did do. And it's upsetting. And I feel like my kids have kind of fallen into this kind of trap too before, where someone's asked them to swear to something that happened where it didn't really happen, but the details are kind of true. Same kind of thing. Like they're showed, because these deep fake people that are like me, they recreate things that they say that I did that I didn't do, right? So then the girls would be asked, well, can you say that happened? And what they're attesting to is the deep fake creation, right? They're saying that the deep fake creation happened. But what it looks like they're saying is that I actually did that myself, me, and I didn't. So it's frustrating. So I'm just putting this out there because just so you know, I didn't say anything that wasn't true. And the bank didn't do anything that wasn't right. And someone did steal from me. And did they steal from me once or twice is the question. But I think they only stole from me once, and they just created the check out of thin air that was dated that day. I don't think I felt that's so funny. So I thought I would just say all that. I know it's upsetting. I've always wanted to work, kind of a consulting type way with somebody on these kinds of things. And I don't really want to do myself out of a job by putting this out there because everyone always used to tell me you should be a lawyer because I really do care about these kinds of things. But, I mean, everyone's human as well. And this was a human mistake brought out by exigency, basically. Financial exigency. Because I really needed that money back in my bank account too. And they weren't going to give it back to me any other way. And this woman, like I said, she's nice, but she always seems a little bit crooked. So my main concern in going in there, I took all the pictures of my stalkers, all of my stalkers, and I showed them that they look really close to me. And I said, you have to, know this because I have safe deposit boxes and things, and I don't want you to let them in. Because these guys, not all of them are nice people. And some of them take things and put them back. And some of them just take them and destroy them. Sometimes they're vandalism. Sometimes, because they're different people. There's 3 different people that try to look exactly like me. Which is so weird because I have all of these features that aren't duplicatable. Like this odd nose and my big brown eyes that are also kind of small. But not as small as they make them look sometimes. And how, you can't usually see my pupils at all, which has always been really funny. And it's like I have this weird kind of transparent skin and this little bit of vitiligo here that's not really reproducible by other people. That happened because when I was younger, I went outside with zinc oxide and I got a burn on my face. But the zinc oxide kept it from showing. And the zinc oxide, it's like the zinc oxide never washed off on my face. But it doesn't look bad. It's just like a little feature. So I was like, well, no one can really be me. But if you're crooked, then someone could be me. And I want to make sure, because I don't know, there's something about her. I like her a lot, but she's kind of I can't really pin her down or see if she's ethical or not. So I was like, I want to show you these pictures so at least I can say that I did my best to prevent a fraud, because that's a huge deal to me. I don't want to have fraud going on around me necessarily in a big way. And I know I sound like the uncoolest person in the world, but this is an interesting situation. And since there are lawyers and things out there, I want them to know, to see what they think about my situation, because it's weird. But I didn't lie. Because I even asked them, I was like, am I signing? I said, I'm signing that the bank It was so funny because I really read everything really carefully before I sign it. So I was like, okay, so I'm signing something that says that I attest that the bank created me a check that was July 18th, and that's what I'm signing to, right? And they said yes. So I signed it. It's just so funny. One of those things where you don't know if there could be a crossroads or not in your life, you know. And I'm not signing for storage because I've been paying my storage this whole time. So it's not anything like that, like them trying to slip papers under papers or trade papers out for papers or whatever. My stuff wasn't auctions off. It's still sitting there. I don't know why they're not talking to me, but it's very strange. If I yelled, they could hear me. They're not the ones over here on the left-hand side, but they're not far away. So I could try to call them, I guess, from the convenience store or something. I'm not sure. But it's time for me to activate my Christmas phone card, so I should really do that. I've been putting it off because of the stalker being on the phone and everything. But once it's activated, I can get Cricket to kick him off, maybe. Or send me a new SIM card, whichever. So I don't know what to think. But at the risk, because it's interesting, I thought I would just put it out there. Because if someone said, don't tell anybody this, then I wouldn't. I've died with secrets. I still have lots of secrets I haven't even told y'all. And nor would I. But they didn't. So I figure I can ask the question. It's an interesting ethical question. So what do you think? As far as I can see, I got a check from July 18th from the bank for this much money, and I attested to getting a check on July 18th for that much money. So if anyone was unethical, that would be the bank. But they were a white hat unethical. So I haven't taken any action against them either. The Honda place, though, that's a little weird. So I said to him, did you ever get my check? And he said, no, he didn't. But remember, they were hacking my modem. And so some of the time, it turns out I wasn't actually talking to him. We were doing the dealing part of it. I wasn't actually speaking with him. And that's how they knew to steal the check from the post office. That is sketchy. And I did report that stolen as well to the police. But nothing was done about it. And so I don't know what to think. And I feel kind of funny about it because I'm like, well, what would I tell my kids? I think I would tell my kids to not worry about it because they did what they did in good faith. And I wasn't signing that I got a check, that I personally purchased a check on the 18th of July. I was signing that I received a check from the bank dated the 18th of July. It's so funny. But they were just trying to figure out if there was a fraud. So I do kind of wonder if the stalker went in and got the money already or what. Spooky, huh? Because these guys have all these things that they gain from taking back my groceries. They get duplicate orders of groceries for free. And then they take them back and they get like PlayStation and PlayStation games and stuff like that. And they're in that apartment right now with those things. And Walmart doesn't prosecute them either, which is weird. But they should. Because I need someone with bigger guns to help me with this. This is not a battle I can safely fight myself because they're in such close proximity to me right now. I've already been attacked a few times. And if I was wearing makeup, I probably would be attacked as soon as I published this because they like to remake things. It's really creepy. And every time I've been really made up and doing this kind of thing, they attack me. But I still have a few videos I want to make today, and I look pretty good today. I just did a chemical peel this morning, and it's a little bit red, but it should be fine so far. It's kind of fun. I've never done one before at home, but I figure I would try since I have this scarring. I don't have any, but it always starts here. I have a little shingle scar right here, and it always shows up as a lot of scarring. So I thought I would just kind of mitigate it some way or the other. And that's what this is really about. You know, the bank allowed a check to go through probably that wasn't supposed to, although they never said it was anything but lost. And they're probably trying to mitigate their liability, because it was a liability agreement I signed also, but not to ever prosecute them for anything, because I checked that too, because that's happened to me before, where somebody did a huge thing to me does a little thing to me, and then they're like, oh, sign this, and then it ends up being a liability, like a liability excuse. Like they give them a lack of liability statement for something little that they then use against you for something big. But I never fall for that. I haven't fallen for it on my lease. I haven't fallen for it from the district. I haven't fallen for it for anything, not from the doctors or medical care or anything like that. I still could sue all those people if I wanted to. I just am not a litigious person usually. And sadly, people couldn't take advantage of me for that. But anyway, so I thought I would just tell you, that's so funny. So it's not really unethical, I guess, of me. And the bank, as far as their dealings with me, aren't unethical, because I didn't have anything to do with whatever they really did with the check. And it could have just gone in the trash can. It's very strange. I really thought if I reported it lost, that the post office would be like, oh yeah, here it is. We just had it set aside because it looked funny and we wanted to make sure it was you or whatever. And they didn't. So then I was sad. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say, was just kind of explain to you how weird that is, that I got a check. Because I said like 3 or 4 times, I was like, I know that I came in 90 days after I got the check, more than 90 days after I got the check. Because I had to like white knuckle it to get all the way through so I could be okay. So I had to white knuckle. So that was just odd. And I don't know what to think. So basically nothing bad happened. But it's a weird story. And I was very upset because I waited a long time to get something. And even though the post office hopefully will also reimburse me since they effed up too, still, it's a lot to ask of people. And I don't know. But life usually does do right by me, because I try to do right by life. I just don't know for sure if that's going to work out. And I know it's weird because most people don't even talk to people about this, but I literally have not very many people to talk to about things. Like I am the most ethical person in my life on every level. I'm more ethical than my brother, more ethical than my sister. My mom's passed away. She was kind of, that song where it's like, the problem is that your mama doesn't dance, that your daddy doesn't rock and roll. Well, my parents really did. Like, they did everything that they could possibly do. They did it right. They did they went out. They just like blazed a trail through their whole life of fun and destruction. So they really were wonderful, high achieving people. So I don't know that she would be more ethical than me either, but she's pretty ethical. And my dad was super ethical, but he died when I was 13, supposedly. So I don't know what to think. But in Al-Anon, they say do the next right thing. So I always do the next right thing. I always just show up and do whatever is asked of me, and then do the next thing after that, and the next thing after that, and the next thing after that. But it's funny. So I am looking for someone to take out my trash, and I have like 15 bags of trash to go out for, and I'll pay $70 or $50. I think it's $70 with tip. So, including tip. So you're welcome to, if you want to help with that, you're welcome to. That the heaviest bag is like 3 pounds. It's not bad. So I would love someone to come with a big truck and help with that. If you can do that and you live near Nacogdoches, Texas, just email me at kew424551@gmail.com. But I am not, just so you know, that's all I want to say, is I'm not, I am usually the ethical barometer for my friends and family. People come to me with their ethical questions. They ask me what they should do in situations. They run something by me to see if they did something wrong, like kind of hide things from me if they do stuff wrong. It's like that. And I like that. I don't mind that. It's kind of isolating sometimes. But I guess I really didn't do anything wrong. Never mind. This is the story. You can tell that the fire alarm's going nuts. We don't know why